Hello, Rohan. Thank you so
Hi,
much for
hi.
meeting me for the
Uh,
interview.
Thank you so much for having me. And it is really great that you're gonna screen this interview during the screening. That's great because I'm not there to interact with the audience, but this is a great way. Thank you so much.
Yes, we're happy you're still present in this way. Well, to start lightly or to break the ice a bit, I have some more fun questions to start with. So that's why my
Okay.
first question is, what is your favorite film?
Okay. Ah, my favorite film is actually which I like to visit on and off is actually Michael Haneke's Amor.
Mhm.
So, yeah, but also I mean there are some other filmmakers like Hirekazu Koreeda or Nuri Bilge Ceylan or Apichatapong Virasatipul. I watch their films also quite often because their films are very I feel they're like novels, visual novels, and I really love that part of their films. But yeah, Michael Haneke is also one of my very favorite filmmaker, and I really look forward to his films. And Amor is one of the films that I really visit again and again.
Have they been part of you from when you were already a young?
No, actually, I started watching world cinema like when I started working as an interior designer, which was in like I think after 2008 or something, I started watching world cinema, and I discovered Michael Haneke only in 2012 when his Amor was out, and that's how I most of the time because I'm not from film background,
Mhm.
so it took me a while to discover many filmmakers, and sometimes my friends would suggest me, and as I started meeting artists from film industry in Mumbai or actors who were aware of world cinema, sometimes they would suggest me, oh, you should watch this filmmaker, that filmmaker. So that's how I discovered. So yeah, Michael Haneke I discovered very late. Even Nuri Bilge Ceylan I discovered only in like I think 2019. And same Apichatapang I discovered only in 2020. So, it was most of the time my other friends who were suggesting me filmmakers.
Perhaps that's already a small answer to my next question, which
Ah,
is
okay.
if you could hold a dream dinner party, who would you invite?
Yeah, I already named the art directors, and I would also add to that Abbas Kiarostami. Yeah,
Okay, what would you talk about at your dream dinner party?
I really don't know because I don't know. When I'm there, I don't know what I will ask because sometimes you prepare things, but when that person is right in front of you, you forget everything. So I
Yes.
don't know. So but some one with Abbas Kiarostami, I mean I always try to find making of his films which most of the time I don't find because I'm really curious how these filmmakers, made their films, how they wrote their films. Because specifically his films, I really, when I saw Taste of Cherry, I really wanted to know how was it, on the paper. Because that is also one of my, film school. Because, most of the time what I do if I want to watch a film, I try to find a screenplay of that film if it's
Mhm.
available, and I read the screenplay first. So when I'm reading, I start imagining, visuals for that film, and after that, I watch the film. So and then I get to see how the filmmaker, what he or she did while shooting the film, the decisions they made. Everything. So that is my film school. So that's how I actually learned filmmaking,
Mhm.
by doing such things. So
And
maybe, I would really ask him, can I really read scripts of your film?
does your filmmaking also start with the script then? Have they influenced you in that way, or have you
See,
influenced yourself?
I mean, of course, I got influenced by them because some of these
Mhm.
filmmakers that I named, I feel only they can make the films they made. Other people can try to replicate, but they can't really get that same essence in their film the way this filmmaker did because it was their own voice, and that actually inspired me to find my own way of telling my stories and uh, I don't know if I've found my own voice, and I'm saying that also because I want to try different things with each film. So
Mhm.
maybe my next film will not look or feel like Sabar Bonda, because this film specifically I wanted to have a very quiet tone. So that's why this film is like this. But maybe, like I've been saying that I also want to make a horror film. So horror film will be completely different. But these filmmakers really helped me to it really inspired me to find my own ways of telling my own stories.
Yeah, definitely. And well, you're still developing your own voice, but congratulations on winning the grand jury prize at the Sundance Film Festival for the
Thank you
World
so
Cinema
much.
Dramatic
Thank you.
Competition. That's
Thank
already,
you
I
so
mean,
much.
for your first feature film, and definitely for any film, big congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You've already mentioned it a little bit, but you are self-taught in film, right? And this is not how
Yeah.
you started out.
Yeah.
What did you want to become when you were young then?
Um, it was I really didn't have any idea what I wanted to become. But once one of my cousins just suggested about being pilot, and I was fascinated with planes also. So I used to when I was a kid, I was thinking about becoming a pilot. But more than
Mhm.
that, I was curious about film, because thankfully my father used to take us to the cinema to watch movies, and my love for the cinema actually started with the gadgets, and first one was the projector. I didn't care about the story or anything when I was going to the theater. I just wanted to go to the projection room and just wanted to see that magical machine that made everything move, and made it look so huge on the screen. And I just wanted to see how it works. So that's how it started. And I think when I was in fourth standard, I made my own slide projector. So that was my journey actually. I never thought I would ever make films, but when I saw Jurassic Park, I was in love with surround sound. And when I was in my final year of schooling, one of the lessons that we had in our Marathi textbook that really inspired me. It was actually a short story, and the way it was written, I actually saw it in my head like a film. The way, I told you that I read scripts and I see the film in my head in my own way. That's how it happened. When I read that chapter, it was so cinematically written that I saw it like a film in my head, and that inspired me to write. And that's when I started writing. I started exploring writing. But when I finished schooling, I didn't know what to do, and my father also didn't know. He couldn't guide me. So my father's boss just suggested, you are good at drawing. Why don't you do interior designing? And I was like, okay, I think I can do that. So that's how I ended up doing interior designing. But even while studying interior designing, I was still writing. And my classmates and my teachers, they were reading my short stories. When I actually started working as a designer, one of my friends from designing college was my colleague, and once she told me there's a competition to make a short film. You have written so many stories. Let's make something, and that was in 2007. And it was actually she wanted to act. So she was so persistent that let's do it. And I was like, no, we don't know anything. We don't know how to do this. We don't have equipments. And I was just reluctant, but she was so persistent that finally we ended up shooting a shot on one of my friend's mobile phone, which had, I think, 1.2 megapixel camera. Apparently, we couldn't finish the film because we were editing it on my friend's home PC in 2007. So every time we started editing, that computer would crash. So we could not finish that film.
Oh
But the whole
no.
process of trying to create something was so exciting. I was like, I'm going to do another film. And then I borrowed another friend's phone, and I used my parents in a next short film, which was a horror film. But thankfully, I finished that film. I could show it to my friends, my neighbors, and that kept me, going. Just to create more and more films. And this is how I could, hone myself also by actually making films. And I had actually started watching, interviews of writers and directors
Mm.
on YouTube, trying to know about their process. And I had joined a DVD library in Mumbai called 70 MMs, and I used to get original DVD, which had making of the film, in bonus features. So I used to watch that first before watching the film. So all of that actually helped me. And then I started meeting people from the film industry here, and then my father also supported me, like, because he used all his
Mhm.
savings to send me to a designing school. And but he saw that I'm spending more time in making films, and he said,
Mhm.
it's okay, you want to do this, go ahead and do it, but do it honestly. And him saying this was very important because he was a driver, and in between he had also quit his job and wanted to work for himself. So he had established a small company in Mumbai, but he couldn't run that company for more than 3 years, and he went into a depression for a year. And for him, it was like, I wanted to work for myself, and now how can I go back to driving? That was actually, making him sad, and he was in a depression for a year. But at the end of the day, he had to go back to driving because he had a family and he had to earn money. So even
Mhm.
after that traumatic experience, he supported me and he said, go ahead, explore. So that was important. That was the first support I got from my father, which kept me going. And then the movies I made started going to the festivals, and that's how I it also inspired me to start writing feature screenplays. Even
Mhm.
before this, I wrote 3 feature screenplays, but I didn't get any funding. So after every
Okay.
script, I kept writing more and more, and
Because
finally this
also for this film, actually, I read that you had trouble to find funding for it.
Yeah, I mean, we started working on it on into 2020, so it took us a
Yes.
very, very long time. And actually, my main producer had to mortgage his house to make this film.
Wow. Well, it is a success, so
And in
it's
a
a
way,
good gamble.
I also feel that when I was almost ready to make my first feature, I again felt like, even my dad is not there.
Mhm.
He's still supporting me because this film is inspired by my experience of grieving his death. So even in
Mhm.
his absence, I somehow felt that that experience made me write this film. So I still feel that he's still supporting me in some way.
That's beautiful because may we say that this is also a semi-autobiographic film?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's also shot in your mother's village, I
Yes,
read.
yes, yes,
How was
yes.
that for you?
It was
Combining your father
exciting.
and your mother then.
Yeah, I mean, so when I was grieving my father,
Mhm.
the kind of pressure that was created by all my village relatives, that they wanted me to get married
Mhm.
as soon as possible. And I knew this would happen because I was 30 and my parents knew about my sexuality, but my village relatives, they didn't know. And so I mean, they were not doing it just for sake of it. They were actually concerned because they were not aware of anything, and I was not too sure if I come out to them how they would
To your
respond to
parents,
it.
you mean?
Yeah, I mean, my parents knew about it.
Yes, okay.
So I was out to my parents in 2013,
Mhm.
and my father passed away in 2016.
Mhm.
So I was there, and I was not too sure that if I come out at this moment in this situation, how things will be. Plus, I was also worried because my mother is actually very connected with all our relatives. I'm
Mhm.
not, so I didn't want to spoil their relationship. So
Mhm.
that's why I had to just keep quiet and endure all the pressure and come back. But when I was there going through, I mean, every day so many people used to come to meet us, and the first question they used to ask is, "Oh, you're 30 and you're still not married." So it was really irritating. And I started thinking, what if I had a friend over here in this village, who if what if
Mhm.
he knew about everything? I would have just sneaked out with him for a while and stayed away from this pressure. And when I thought about that, I was like, oh, I think this is an interesting idea.
Yes.
And it stayed with me, and I started thinking about it more. And then I thought, actually, this will also allow me to change this claustrophobic experience,
Mhm.
and make it help me make it a tender journey, at least for the
Mhm.
character in the film. So I was quite intrigued by that idea, and it
And I
stayed,
think,
and
yeah.
I kept thinking about it for many years. It was only in 2020 I started writing, because that's how my writing process works. The idea stays with me for a very long time in my head, and in
Mhm.
my head I keep playing with it, and then many things about that story idea, images or some notes, they they become so saturated in my head that actually then forces me to start writing, and that's when I write. So the
Mhm.
thought process was there since 2016.
Well, I think the film is also not only significant maybe for your experience, but more universal in the sense
Yeah,
that it's queer characters in a rural area.
yeah,
And I was wondering if we could talk a bit about the significance of that or the importance of that.
yeah. I mean, I mean, there were few experiences that I had. Like, some people had told me that, and I basically I come from a lower class strata, working class strata. I
Hmm.
grew up in a Mumbai slum in just a very very tiny one room house, and when people got to know about my sexuality, they used to tell me, "Oh, this is not for us. This is for rich people." And I was like, this is natural. This is human thing. And sexuality is, you can find sexuality anywhere, any class, any part of the world, even in rural area. But what happens most of the time, we don't see a lot of queer representation from in rural India. It's
Hmm.
always the city-based characters and even the rich characters, upper class characters. And that's when I wanted to use my own experiences of growing up in the slum and spending my summer vacations in my mother's village or my uncle's village. So and when I used to be there, because I knew about my sexuality since, I mean, when I was in school, when I was
Hmm.
very young, and I used to keep thinking, are there queer people here? Because I didn't see anyone, and I was also I mean, as a kid, I was shy to even ask, because you don't ask these things to your cousins. So I never saw anyone there, and I
Mm.
kept thinking if there are there. And of course, when I started making films, then people from rural India started messaging me on Instagram and all. So
Mm.
that's how I connected with some people, and I started knowing. I started asking them about their experiences, and that I wanted to use, and that's what I am saying. This experience of grieving my father actually helped me to add so many things that were in my head. Even this rural queer character. So and so basically, I just wanted to show sexuality that exist in different class and also in different parts of India, in the remote parts of India. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to use this
Yes,
queer character from the rural India.
I think it's very important. And
Yeah.
then maybe just a final question. In your development of making your film language, you have actually chosen a very specific format for it. It's shot in ratio 4:3, I think.
No,
With
it's 166.
I'm sorry, 166. But
Yeah.
it has round edges, and there's also no use of background music. Sometimes the change in scenes is very slow.
Yeah.
Could you tell us still a bit about that decision, those decisions?
Yeah. So about the aspect ratio first. So when the project was part of Venice gap financing market, so it was part of Venice Biennale College Cinema as well. But when I was
Mhm.
there, festival happens is in I think September, and I was there in October for the Biennale College Cinema, so I couldn't be part of the festival. But the
Mhm.
next year, when they invited us again for the gap financing market, it was happening during the festival. So I was like, I'm gonna stay back after the market, watch some films. And when I was watching films there in the Venice theater, screen was so huge,
Yeah.
and that widescreen films that I saw there, and I was like, this is the impact was something else. I never experienced something that, and then I told my DOP, can we try, wide aspect ratio? But he said, yeah, sure, we can explore. So I used to click pictures during my location scouting. So I had all of those pictures from the location. So I started, cropping them in that aspect ratio. But, the kind of feeling that we were getting was not right. I wanted a very realistic feel to the film. And somehow that wide aspect ratio was not giving me that feel.
Mhm.
So and I didn't want to do at all 4:3 boxy aspect ratio, because, that has become, I feel that has become a cliche, because everyone is just exploring that to trap their character. But I feel that's not the only way to trap your character. Sometimes the openness also can do that. Negative space around the character can also do that.
Mhm.
So that's when we tried 166, which I really like because it also gave me the option to shoot landscapes and very close-up shots of the characters'
Mhm.
faces. So I thought that's interesting. That's why I used it. And for the round edges is something that's my nostalgia when my dad used to take us
Mhm.
to the cinema and when it used to be the cellulite projection, edges used to be curved, slight. It used to be curved. They never used to be very
Mhm.
sharp. It's just
Mhm.
because of now digital projection and digital filmmaking, we have very sharp curves. So that I used to really find that interesting. And if you see old TVs used to also have round edges. So that was something it's related to my nostalgia, and that's why I wanted to have that. Plus, in the film, characters are talking about memory. Then again, it's about nostalgia. And I had told my DOP that this film needs to look like photographs, and that's why I thought that round edges work, and it's also gives a soft feeling to the film. That's what I wanted to
Mhm.
use it. And about the long takes and no use of musics and static shot style was because I wanted to create a portrait of time that I experienced in my uh, ancestral village during this grieving period. And so grieving period was slow, and when you are in a village, the time anyway again slows down. So that's why I wanted to use that quality to reflect in the film. And for the 10 days, me and my mother, we were just sitting in the house throughout the day. So time was even slower for us. It was not moving.
Mhm.
And most of the time, it was just me and my mother in the house because all our relatives used to go to the farm for the work. So while sitting in the house, I was just listening to the silence. If I'm sitting outside the house, I'm just looking at the village and the light changing, the birds, the distant sounds of some people working. So I wanted to really use that to make this film. So in a way,
Mhm.
it feels more authentic to my experience of spending time in the villages. So that's why I use that static framing and no music. I just wanted to use this natural sounds to elevate the setting of the story. And for this I had to actually write sound design also when I was writing the script. So
Oh, yeah.
I wanted everyone to know that there's not going to be background music, and so they could hear the sound when they are reading the
Mhm.
script. Um, so yeah, I mean these are the reasons.
Yeah, it all comes together in a very beautiful film. There's a
Thank
lot
you,
more to explore, to ask, but I will leave that to our audience. So I
okay.
want to just thank you very much for this Q&A and this interview,
Thank you,
and for sitting
thank
with
you.
us. And I wish our audience a pleasant journey to watch this film. And
Yes. So
thank
I
you.
just wanted to say to the audience, if anyone wants to share anything with me, you can always connect with me on Instagram. I'm there, Rohan Parashuram Kanawade or Rohan Kada. You can search me. And if you just want to share your experience, please do that because, I really love to hear what audience feel when they watch a film because again, that's another film school for me because sometimes, what I was thinking while making the film, audience might experience it in a different way because of their life
Mhm.
experiences. So when they share that, it enriches my experience. So it also helps me to use that for my next film. So please, I would really love to hear audiences. So please, if you want to, anyone want to get in touch, please do. Thank you, and
Great.
I'm really happy that if I'm really happy everyone is there for the screening, and I really hope that audience enjoys the film.
I'm sure they will. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.